Welcome to today's Explainer. We've got a fascinating and honestly an incredibly urgent topic to unpack today. What we're looking at is a direct, immediate collision course between strict pharmaceutical data retention rules and the rapid, almost scary advancement of quantum computing. We're literally talking about a mathematical ticking time bomb. It's something that threatens the very foundation of how we secure the most sensitive, high-value medical and manufacturing data in the world. It's a huge deal, so let's get right into it.
Okay, let's dive into this. 25 years. Now, that number isn't just a suggestion. It represents a fundamental legal reality for the pharmaceutical industry. By law, under good manufacturing practice or GMP rules, pharmaceutical data has to be kept around for a very, very long time. We're talking about things like clinical trial data, stability data, and manufacturing batch records. All of this is legally required to be retained for a quarter of a century. And for certain biologics and vaccines, it's actually even longer. This data must absolutely remain confidential and structurally trustworthy for decades after a product expires on a pharmacy shelf.
But here is the jarring reality that changes everything. Experts are estimating that between the years 2030 and 2035, quantum computers are going to reach a level of maturity known in the industry as Q-Day. Basically, within the next 4 to 9 years, cryptographically relevant quantum computers are expected to easily shatter the current RSA and ECC encryption standards. And those are the exact same standards currently locking away all of that sensitive pharmaceutical data we just talked about. So this brings us to the pivotal question for our explainer today. I want you to really think about this. What happens when 25 years of mandatory data retention violently collides with a 5-year cryptographic expiration date? If you're encrypting a highly sensitive clinical trial right now, today, and the law says it must stay a secret until, say, 2051, but the lock protecting it will be picked by a quantum computer by 2030? Well, then your data is already living on borrowed time. Now, you might be thinking, well, quantum computers aren't fully here yet, so we have plenty of time to upgrade later, right? Actually, scratch that. Wrong. Let me introduce you to a really concerning concept called harvest now, decrypt later. This is the practice of intercepting and archiving encrypted data today so that it can be decrypted retroactively once those quantum computers actually mature. To put this into perspective, nation-states and sophisticated threat actors aren't just waiting around. They are actively siphoning up encrypted communications and massive database transfers right now, simply stockpiling them on giant hard drives until the math catches up. So the threat isn't just some futuristic sci-fi scenario. They are stealing your encrypted data today. And this is exactly why the pharmaceutical industry is such a prime target for this specific type of attack. Just think about the immense commercial value of what's being stored. We're talking about proprietary drug discovery data, novel lead compound structures, and exact formulation details. This stuff represents literally billions of dollars in R&D investment. If a state-sponsored actor wants to reverse engineer a new breakthrough therapy or vaccine, they don't have to break into your servers 10 years from now. They just need to harvest your encrypted traffic today and play the waiting game. Let's ground these sort of abstract cybersecurity concepts into the physical world for a second and look at the tangible data at risk right now. Take platforms like TrueCold, for instance, which handle pharmaceutical-grade cold chain logistics. They are constantly transmitting highly sensitive data, like plus or minus 0.1 degrees Celsius temperature monitoring for high-value active pharmaceutical ingredients or incredibly delicate cell and gene therapies. They're continuously tracking mean kinetic temperature, which measures thermal stress on biologics. And most critically, they are even using AI to make automatic product release decisions. Every single byte of this incredibly sensitive, vital data relies on cryptography that is on the absolute verge of obsolescence. So, the crucial point is that this isn't just about corporate espionage. It's a severe regulatory compliance nightmare waiting to happen. Under 21 CFR Part 11, the FDA strictly governs electronic records and electronic signatures. And guess what? Data integrity is already one of their most frequently cited inspection findings. If the underlying cryptography that secures an electronic signature or an audit trail is suddenly broken, the entire data integrity of a manufacturing batch record just collapses. You could be looking at severe warning letters or, even worse, massive product release blockages that completely halt your supply chain. But listen, here is the good news, and I want to pivot sharply here. We really don't need to panic, because we don't have to wait for a full-blown crisis to force the issue. The cryptography community has actually seen this coming for a while, and a highly practical, deployable solution already exists to defuse this time bomb. And this brilliantly illustrates exactly how this new defense works. On the left, you've got classical cryptography, like RSA, which relies on factoring extremely large numbers. For a classical computer, that's virtually impossible. But for a quantum computer running something called Shor's algorithm, it's like effortlessly picking a standard padlock. Now, on the right, we have the new solution, lattice cryptography. Instead of factoring numbers, it's based on a multidimensional grid. Imagine trying to find one specific hidden point among billions of possible locations in a messy, chaotic, multidimensional lattice. That search problem is incredibly hard for both ordinary computers and quantum computers. It's a fundamental mathematical mismatch that keeps your data secure. To make this a reality, in August 2024, NIST actually published its first finalized post-quantum cryptographic standards. Let's break down this alphabet soup real quick. First, we have ML-Chem, under standard FIPS 203. This handles key encapsulation, basically secure key exchange, and it's going to replace our current RSA methods for securing things like your everyday TLS connections. Next up is MLDSA, under FIPS 204. This handles digital signatures, and this is what will replace the vulnerable algorithms behind those strict FDA-regulated electronic signatures we talked about earlier. Finally, SLHDSA provides a highly conservative hash-based backup for digital signatures, which is absolutely perfect for securing critical root CA certificates. Now, transitioning to all these new algorithms brings us to what I think is the single most important takeaway of this entire explainer: crypto agility. What is it? It's the ability to rapidly and efficiently transition between cryptographic algorithms without requiring extensive system modification or shutting down your network. You see, this isn't about applying a one-time software patch and calling it a day. Crypto agility is a permanent architectural mindset. Algorithms are always going to evolve, so organizations must abstract their cryptography so they can swap out algorithms seamlessly as new threats pop up in the future. The great news is that enterprise tools are already adapting to empower organizations to build this crypto-agile architecture right now. For instance, IBM Guardian Cryptography Manager allows IT teams to automatically discover and inventory all cryptographic objects, pulling out all that unknown or shadow cryptography hidden deep in the network. Then you've got platforms like eMudhra's CertiNext, which provides centralized certificate lifecycle management. That allows for automated issuance and renewal of certificates to ensure zero downtime. And crucially, we use hybrid key exchange, which combines both classical and post-quantum keys simultaneously. This ensures that even if one algorithm is eventually broken, your data remains safely protected by the other one. It's the ultimate seamless transition. But while traditional servers and databases have pretty clear upgrade paths, there's a massive, often overlooked vulnerability hidden inside the pharmaceutical supply chain itself. Let's shift our focus and look at what's known as the immutable ledger blind spot. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is that it exposes a massive flaw in something we previously thought was practically foolproof: the blockchain. In pharma, networks like MediLedger handled literally billions of verification transactions to comply with the Drug Supply Chain Security Act. It's an immutable ledger, meaning the historical data can't be secretly changed. But here is the catch: immutability does not protect the cryptographic signatures that authorize those changes in the first place. Because the ledger is public and permanent, the public keys used for those signatures are visible out there forever. A quantum computer wouldn't even need to breach a firewall. It could simply look at the public ledger, calculate the private keys from those exposed public keys, and forge fraudulent quality releases or fake chain of custody transfers. To combat this specific threat, forward-thinking pharmaceutical organizations and blockchain networks are executing some really intensive stress tests today. Step 1 is hybrid signature piloting. This means running classical and post-quantum signatures side by side, so the system stays perfectly compatible with older partners while safely testing the new defenses. Step 2 is key exposure auditing. This is all about identifying and heavily securing the vital administrative or root keys that would cause absolute chaos if they were forged. And step 3 involves simulated forgery drills. They're actively modeling what a quantum forged batch release would actually look like in the system, just to ensure that downstream reconciliation checks would instantly flag and catch the anomaly. Let's move to and see how this builds into a concrete executable roadmap that IT and quality assurance directors can start acting on immediately. In the first 0 to 6 months, your absolute top priority is a complete cryptographic inventory. You have to focus heavily on regulated GXP systems because you can't protect what you don't know you have. Between 6 and 18 months, organizations need to deploy those hybrid signatures and key exchanges we talked about to protect data that's actively in transit. Finally, in the 18 to 36-month window, the ultimate goal is full post-quantum cryptography migration across the entire enterprise, and that includes updating all of your internal policies for things like electronic signatures. Which brings us to our final critical thought for today. We've clearly seen that the data you encrypt today has to last for decades, but the locks currently protecting it have an expiration date of just a few short years. So I want to leave you with this question. Is your organization's data already living on borrowed time? The Harvest Now, Decrypt Later threat is incredibly real, the NIST standards are officially here, and the transition window is closing faster than you might think. The time to start your cryptographic inventory isn't tomorrow, it's today. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. I really hope this gives you the exact blueprint you need to secure your data before Q-Day arrives.